thank you so much for joining us for this demo today. A quick history on our company. Rubio Monocoat has been around since the 1960s, and we came to the US in 2007. Today we're going to cover preparation, pre-treatments, our finish, and care maintenance. Now let's jump right into it. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is preparation. With the preparation, the sanding sequence that we suggest, 120 grits should be your final sanding. After you sand it, of course, you're going to have a lot of sawdust on the surface. So we're going to vacuum it, and after you vacuum it, we suggest that you use a raw wood cleaner. The raw wood cleaner electrostatically removes all the fine dust off the wood. If you're working on a table surface, woodworkers, this is the way that you would clean the surface. If you are a flooring contractor, you can tack the floor with a raw wood cleaner. The spread rate of the product, it's between 750 square feet to 1,000 square feet. And one thing to keep in mind is the product does not pop the grain like water does. So you're not just cleaning the surface, you're conditioning it, and you're getting it ready for our finish to work properly. So now we're going to talk about water popping. What does water popping mean? It's introducing water to the surface. By introducing water to the surface, you open the grain. By opening the grain, the surface is going to accept more product. By accepting more product, that means more pigment. And by having more pigment, it means a richer, deeper color. So why would you water pop it? If you're looking for a richer, deeper color, water pop. If you're working with a surface like a tabletop or a furniture, this is exactly the way I would water pop. Just get your rag with water and run on the surface. If you're working on a room with a floor, I would use a garden sprayer. I would spray the floor and have a T-bar to even it out. But if you're just doing a woodworking tabletop, this is exactly what you do. It's extremely important to water pop it really even, otherwise you're going to have a color difference or lap mark. All right, the next topic we're going to talk about is the pre-treatments. Of course, if you can get everything done with oil plus QC, that's a better option, just having one color and one application. But if you want to get a two-tone effect or cerusing effect or intensify a color, the pre-treatments are the best option. So we're going to talk about Precolor Easy, we're going to talk about pre-aging, and also Fumed. Next, we're going to talk about Fumed. Fumed is a reactive stain. What does a reactive stain mean? It reacts with the tannic acid in the wood. The more tannins, the more reaction. The product is mainly used in white oak because white oak has a lot of tannic acid. The demo is going to be done in red oak, who has a lot of fewer tannic acid. We're still going to have that really rich gray look, which is like a drift look that you're looking for. Application of the product, on this case, that could be a tabletop or woodworkers, you can apply with a pad, cutting pad like this. If you're doing a floor, the best way to apply is with a pump sprayer, and then you come in with a T-bar and even it out. Spread rate on the product, the 1 liter is going to get you between 200 to 400 square feet. So make sure you apply the product really even. Don't get too much product over the baseboard so it doesn't puddle it in. And you can see the reaction starting to happen right before your eyes. After the application of the product, the drying time is 36 hours. So after the application, let it sit for 36 hours. And then we're going to come back and neutralize it. And that's Fumed. So we allow 36 hours for the film to react. During the reaction process, crystallization may happen to the surface, so it's very important to neutralize the surface with water. The way you have it done is just with a wet rag. You're gonna wipe down the surface with the wet rag. If this is a furniture piece, you may be able to get everything done with one rag. If you're doing a large area, such as a floor, you may have to change the rags during the process. Once you finish wiping down the surface, you need to let the surface sit until it's 100% dried. And then you're gonna be able to apply the Oil Plus 2C on top of it. That's neutralization. All right, the next product we're gonna talk about is pre-aging. The pre-age is a non-reactive water-based stain that gives you the look of a reactive, but you don't need the tannic acid in the wood in order to get the look. So if you're looking for aged look in the wood, it comes in 10 colors. The 1 liter, the spread rate gives you between 150 to 200 square feet. Application of the product needs to be done with our microfiber bristle pad, and you can use a cutting pad to do the edges. The benefit of using the bristle pad is it does not allow for you to put too much product down. And that's the key thing with the pre-aging, is not putting too much product down. The color that we're using right here is the Smoke Intense. And I'm gonna use the cutting pad to do the edge. The dry time on the product is 24 hours. After 24 hours, you can add any of the Oil Plus 2C colors on top, and that's gonna give you the cerusing look, the two-tone look effect. So you can use any of the 55 color oils on top of it. So we're back on the pre-aging panel. The next step is to knock down the grain. We allow a minimum of 24 hours for the product to fully dry. If you're using a floor, you're gonna be using a buffer to knock down the grain with a red pad. If this is a furniture piece, you're gonna be doing it by hand, and I'll show you guys in a second. If this was a furniture piece, you're gonna be doing it by hand. I'm just doing the edges where the buffer is not able to touch. And the next step is to vacuum really nice. And now the pre-aging is ready to accept Oil Plus 2C. All right, now we're gonna talk about Precolor Easy. Precolor Easy is a water-based stain. It comes in 14 different colors, and the colors can be intermixed. Best method of application for Precolor Easy is with a cutting pad applicator. You're also gonna need a scrubbing pad and a damp rag. We're gonna talk about a flooring application first, and then a furniture piece. On a flooring application, we're gonna divide the sections in pieces. So 3-foot section, we're gonna tape, we're gonna skip a section and go to the next one. So stain, skip, and stain. So we're gonna apply with a Petco applicator. The color that we're using here is the Mystic Brown, which is one of the darkest brown that we have. So after the application, next step, we're gonna scrub it in with the red pad. And like I said, the best way would be to have a helper, have somebody behind you scrubbing it in. And while you're scrubbing, you're also knocking down the grain because the product is a water-based stain, so it's gonna pop the grain. And by scrubbing, you're knocking down the grain. After knocking down the grain, you're gonna use a damp rag to even it out. Best way is just go in circle motion and even the product down. Now we're gonna go to the next section. So we're gonna skip one and go to the next one. After the application of each of these sections, we're gonna immediately pull off the tape. Once you pull the tape, you're gonna let the product dry 100%. And once it's dried, we're gonna tape over the section we just stained. And then we stain the section that we just skipped. So immediately after application, pull the tape. Once you pull the tape, let it dry 100%. Once it's dry, we're gonna tape over the section we just stained. And then we stain the section that is not stained. Because we're doing an application of such a small panel, we're just gonna go ahead and stain the remaining piece, pretending this was a furniture piece. So just do the same method. And remember, this is a water-based stain, so it's very easy to lap mark. So try to apply as even as you can using the scrubbing pad and also the moist rag to even it out. The spread rate on the Precolor Easy is between 150 to 200 square feet. Just gonna go over a little bit on the left line. I'll scrub it in. And now I'm gonna even it out with a rag. Drying time is between 6 and 8 hours. My suggestion is if you can, just wait overnight and then you can add your Oil Plus UC on top of it. And that's Precolor Easy. Now you're ready for application of Oil Plus UC. Oil Plus UC is our flagship product. It's a plant-based hard wax oil. It comes in 55 different colors. It's zero VOC and it goes down in one single coat application. It's a matte finish that gives you a very natural look and feel. The product comes in different sizes. Our sample sizes are 20 milliliters, 100 milliliters, and then we have the combo in 350 ml and 1.3 liters. We also have it available only in pure at a 3.5 liters. As you can see, the 20 milliliter and the 100 mils, the sample sizes, they do not have the accelerator attached to it. It does not affect the color to make the samples without the accelerator. But we also have the accelerator available in 100 mils in case you're doing a small project. We decided to use the color white over this entire panel. So we're gonna pre-mix the color. Make sure you shake the can really well before you mix it. We have already done the shaking before. So we're gonna pour part A, the color. Then we're gonna add the accelerator, which is the part B. Then you mix it really well. Once the product is mixed, you have 6 hours to use it. Now the product is mixed, it's ready for application. When applying Oil Plus UC to the floor, the very first step we're gonna do is cutting the edges. We suggest applying the product with our applicator set. I usually just put the product on the floor and just apply to the edges. Get it really close to the baseboards, and it can go off the wall between 4 to 5, 6 inches. Usually you're gonna get a helper helping you. Don't get too far ahead of the game. Once we apply it to the edges, the next step is gonna be removing the excess. You can also put product straight on the pad. So once we applied it, the next step is just having terry towels, and we're gonna remove the excess. When removing the excess, you can never remove too much. Make sure you use a lot of pressure and remove as much excess as you can. Once the excess is removed, make sure you run your finger on the floor and you have no excess coming off of your fingers. That will be the best way to gauge if you have removed the excess. But as you can see, I'm applying a lot of pressure to make sure that we remove all the excess of the oil. Now that we apply the product to the edges, it's time to apply oil plus C to the field. Usually I just pour the product down, right on the floor. You need to get the pad saturated, so I usually do about 5 to 6 inches wide, and then I just put the buffer right over it. Applying oil plus C to a floor is a 3-step process. You're gonna apply the product on the floor, then you're gonna remove the excess. Then remove the excess with a brand new white pad. And then we're gonna remove the excess again with a terry towel. Usually when I first start, I just spend a little time here in the beginning just to get the pad saturated. And then I add more oil and move backwards. It's a good idea to start the application in the back of the room and walk yourself outside of the room. So now the pad is a little saturated. I'm just gonna add a little more oil and keep moving backwards. The spread rate of the product, the 1 liter is between 3 to 500 square feet. The way oil plus C works is through a molecular bonding. The product molecularly bonds to the wood, to the top fibers of the wood. It only takes 2 to 3 minutes for the product to bond to the wood. So once you hit the product and you run for 2 to 3 minutes, all you need to do is remove the excess. If you're applying this to furniture, it'll be a 2-step process. You're just gonna use our applicator pad, apply the product, and then you're gonna remove the excess with a terry towel. If you're applying this to a floor, again, it's a 3-step process. It is extremely important to remove the excess correctly, and we're gonna be going over the removal of the excess in a few minutes. On this panel, the front part of the panel is our product Fumed, which is our reactive stain, the gray part that you see. Right in the middle, it's our pre-aging product on the color Smoke Intense. Right behind the Smoke Intense, on a very dark part, it's our Precolor Easy Mystic Brown. And then on the top front, it's just red oak sanded to 120 grit, and then we cleaned it with our raw wood cleaner. And on the back of the panel where I'm standing right now, it was water pop. So thinking about water popping, remember the grains are gonna be open, it's gonna feel a little bit rougher than normal. Also for the Fumed, for the Fumed, for the pre-aging, for the Precolor Easy, they are all water-based stains. So they do pop the grain. So you can apply the product with a white or a red pad. A thing to keep in mind is, you can use a red pad to knock down the grain only over the water pop section, the Fumed, and the pre-aging. We do not suggest using the red pad to apply the product over the Precolor Easy. And that's the reason why we're just using the white pad. So application of the product can be done with a white or a red, but you cannot use a red pad over the Precolor Easy. That's the only product you cannot use it. So we're just about finishing up the application. And the next step is going to be removing the excess oil. So the color that we chose over here is the Oil Plus to See white. And again, we're going over Fumed, going over Pre-Aging Smoke Intense, and Precolor Easy Mystic Brown. So now that we finished the application process, it's time to change the pads. The white pad that we're using for application, we can reuse it for application. So once we remove it, we put it aside, and we're gonna be able to reuse it to apply the rest of the rooms that we have. Usually you can get between 500 to 700 square feet on a pad for application. I'm just gonna use a terry towel so we don't get oil on the wheels. I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna remove the pad. So the pad that we're using for application, again, we're gonna be able to use it, okay? Remove some of this excess on the floor. You can just put it upside up on the side, and we're gonna reuse it for application. Now the second step is removing the excess. I'm gonna use a white pad for removal. We don't suggest walking on a wet floor, but in this case, if it's a small room like this, a 10 by 10 room, you have no other option. You have to walk on a surface. So now is the first excess removal. So this is the second step. We're removing the excess. As long as you're removing the excess and removing your footsteps, you should be okay to walk on it. So removing the excess is one of the most important part about Oil Plus to See. You can never remove too much oil. Make sure that you hit every part of the surface and try to do as even as you can. Look how beautiful the cerusing effect is coming up on the pre-aging, on the Fumed, and pretty soon over the Precolor Easy. So we're still at our second step. And again, if you're doing a furniture piece, you're just gonna apply the product with the applicator pad, and then you're gonna remove the excess with a terry towel. So on a furniture piece, it's a very simple process. But remember, the most important step is removing all the excess. So this is the second step, removing the excess. Next, I'm gonna add a terry towel underneath the product, underneath the pad, I'm sorry, and then we're gonna remove the excess one more time with a terry towel. So this is gonna be our final step. Just removing the excess one last time. For me, I believe this is the most important step when applying Rubio Monocoat, is making sure that you're removing the excess 100%. Once you've done this part, then you have to let the product sit for 24 hours minimum before you use it. So after 24 hours of removing the excess, it is okay for light use. Curing process of the product is gonna be 5 to 7 days, depending on temperature and humidity. Between this, until the product is 100% cured, we don't suggest cleaning the surface with any liquids whatsoever. And this is pretty much the final step. A very important point to keep in mind is, remember, Oil Plus to See is a linseed oil based and contains carnauba wax and beeswax. Very important to get all your rags all your pads that contains any oil, any leftover, and dispose them accordingly. We suggest using a fire metal can. And put all your dirty rags and pads over there. It's okay to do a little last run, just make sure that you didn't leave any excess anywhere. And that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you still have any questions, please log into our website, rubiomonocoatusa.com. Under each product page, you can find the TDS and video applications. Thank you so much again.